Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here, on purpose. You've been asking for clarity, for confirmation, for insight. And now, heaven is answering. What you're about to hear is not just information, it's divine instruction, a spiritual blueprint for the times we're living in. A holy reminder that your journey is not random, your life is not ordinary, and your purpose is not small. There's a reason you've always felt different. There's a reason you've never fully fit in. And there's a reason why, no matter what life throws your way, you keep rising with quiet power. It's because, like Enoch, you walk with God. And when you walk with God, long enough, deep enough, consistently enough, you stop being bound by the natural. You begin to live on assignment, not survival. This message is for those who are walking closely with God and wondering why it feels like the world no longer recognizes them. It's for those who feel unseen but deeply used by heaven. It's for those whose time on earth is sacred because they're moving in divine timing. You're not here forever, chosen one. You're here until the assignment is complete. Let's walk through it together, chapter by chapter. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Because this message isn't just content, it's a divine confirmation for the chosen ones who walk with God like Enoch did. And a heartfelt thank you to everyone who's been supporting through Super Thanks. May God bless you richly. Your support, your presence, and your faithfulness never go unnoticed. To all of you who continually watch, listen, and align, I'm deeply grateful. If your spirit resonates with this word, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random, it's a sacred code, a heavenly signal that says, I'm walking in alignment, I'm on divine assignment, I'm ready for the transition when heaven calls. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message, only those who are truly walking closely with the Most High. The ones who understand that this life isn't about survival, it's about surrender. This isn't just another inspirational word. This is a prophetic download, a spiritual blueprint for those who have been set apart like Enoch. Watch it again whenever your spirit stirs, because each time God will reveal more of what He's doing in and through your life. Your exit from certain spaces, people, and even this realm won't be random. It'll be right on time. Because like Enoch, when the assignment is complete, God will take you into what's next. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Enoch didn't live long. He lived right. Enoch's story in the book of Genesis is short in words, but deep in meaning. While others in his lineage lived hundreds and hundreds of years, Enoch's life stands out not because of its length, but because of its alignment. The scripture doesn't list his accomplishments, his possessions, or his influence. It simply says, Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more, for God took him. That single sentence holds more weight than volumes of achievements. This wasn't just a casual mention, it was a spiritual statement. Enoch didn't live to impress the world. He lived to please the one who created it. His life wasn't about striving, it was about walking. Walking in step with God, walking in obedience, walking in trust, walking in daily communion. In today's world, we're often taught to measure our worth by what we do, how much we accumulate, or how many years we spend doing it. But heaven sees things differently. God doesn't celebrate longevity without purpose. He celebrates faithfulness without compromise. Enoch didn't have to live 9 centuries like others. His purpose wasn't found in time, it was found in alignment. His significance wasn't based on his age, it was based on his intimacy with God. And that's what made his life eternal in meaning. Because when someone walks that closely with the Lord, time no longer defines them. Eternity does. Chosen one, understand this. Your value is not determined by how long you are here, but by how deeply you live while you are here. It's not about the length of your days, it's about the depth of your surrender. And when your walk becomes pleasing to God, He marks you, He shields you, He sets you apart. You may not even know it, but every quiet yes you've given in obedience has been recorded in heaven. Enoch was taken not because he was old, but because he was ready. His assignment was complete. His spirit was in full alignment. His walk had reached a level where earth could no longer contain what heaven approved. And so, without death, without fanfare, without explanation, God took him. There are things in your life right now that may feel small, like praying when no one sees, turning down opportunities that don't align with your spirit, choosing holiness over popularity. But in heaven, those are the things that count. Those are the things that mark you. Those are the steps that build a walk like Enoch's. You don't need the world's applause to be elevated by God. You don't need a long resume to be remembered in eternity. You just need to walk faithfully, humbly, and closely with the Lord. And when your mission is complete, just like Enoch, God will move you. Not out of punishment, but out of pleasure, because He delights in those who walk with Him. So stay close. Keep walking. You may not be noticed by man, but you are known by heaven. And when the time comes, your transition will be more than an exit. It will be a divine promotion. Chapter 2. When you walk close enough, heaven starts to feel like home. The closer you walk with God, the more you begin to realize that this world was never your final home. Enoch's story reveals more than a divine disappearance. It reveals a progressive closeness, a consistent communion, a relationship so deep that at some point the transition from earth to eternity was seamless. He walked with God so closely that heaven didn't feel like a distant concept. It felt like a natural next step. Chosen one, this is what happens when your spirit begins to outgrow the systems, conversations, and distractions of this world. It's not that you're losing interest in life, you're gaining a deeper interest in truth. You're no longer moved by trends. You don't chase platforms or applause. You crave presence. You crave stillness. You crave God. And that craving is evidence that heaven has been calling you homeward, not to take you immediately, but to prepare you for your next level of assignment. There's a holy homesickness that comes over those who walk closely with God. It's not depression. It's not escapism. It's a longing, a soul-level recognition that you were made for more than what you can see. You were created not to just survive here, but to remember there. Enoch's walk wasn't flashy. It was faithful. It wasn't loud. It was loyal. He didn't need to be everywhere. He just needed to be with God. And the more he walked with Him, the less attached he became to everything else. That's what's happening to you. People may not understand why you're pulling away from old circles, why you can't engage in surface-level things anymore, why your laughter has been replaced with longing. But it's not rejection, it's refinement. You're not going backwards, you're going deeper. There is something sacred about being in tune with the frequency of heaven while still walking on the soil of earth. It shifts the way you see, speak, and operate. You begin to filter your decisions through destiny. You no longer settle for temporary satisfaction when eternal purpose is calling. And hear this, not everyone will understand your transformation. Some will say you've changed. Others may accuse you of being too deep, but what they don't realize is that you've tasted something eternal. You've heard whispers from a realm beyond time. And once your spirit touches heaven's rhythm, nothing on earth can fully satisfy you again. This is the tension of the chosen, living here while longing there, being present yet pulled, assigned to earth yet awakened to eternity. God doesn't take everyone like he took Enoch, but he does reserve a level of intimacy for those who choose to walk with him when the world walks the other way. And for those who stay on that narrow path, the path of purity, surrender, and alignment, there's a sense of home that starts forming not around you, but within you. Your appetite changes, your conversations deepen, your spirit quiets, your discernment sharpens, and suddenly you realize you've been living between two worlds, and heaven has started to feel more like home than anything you've ever known. So don't fear the pull. Embrace it. Don't resist the quiet. Lean into it. Don't mourn the things you're losing. Celebrate what you're gaining. Because when you walk close enough with God, you don't fear being taken. You understand it's a continuation of a journey that started long before anyone noticed. Keep walking, chosen one. You're closer to glory than you realize. Chapter 3. You're on assignment, not attachment. Enoch didn't waste time building his identity around a broken world. He didn't anchor his life to temporary achievements, titles, or connections. He anchored his walk to God. And that's the key. While the world was busy chasing status and building legacies rooted in flesh, Enoch was building intimacy with the Creator. His story reminds us that the goal is not to become deeply attached to the earth, but to become deeply aligned with heaven. Chosen one, you must understand, your time here is not random. It's not indefinite. It's strategic. It's sacred. You were sent here on assignment, not for attachment. When that truth settles into your spirit, everything shifts. You stop forcing things that drain you. You stop idolizing relationships that distract you. You stop mourning seasons that have closed. You move differently, speak differently, and see differently, because you're no longer living like someone who belongs here permanently. You're operating like a soldier on divine orders, a spiritual ambassador passing through. This is why certain things haven't stuck in your life, because they were never meant to. It's why some people couldn't stay, because they were not assigned to your destiny. It's why your spirit feels restless around shallow environments, because you were never meant to settle into places that feed your flesh but starve your spirit. You're not called to be comfortable. You're called to be commissioned. Your soul didn't come here to build an empire. It came here to fulfill a mission. And that mission requires clarity, detachment, and obedience. Enoch didn't need to be celebrated. He needed to be surrendered. And so do you. You weren't sent here to impress. You were sent here to impact. You weren't sent here to collect possessions. You were sent here to release purpose. You weren't sent here to blend in. You were sent here to stand out by walking with God when few are willing to. Chosen one, you are an agent of heaven, a divine disruptor, a carrier of light. And that means your life will not always make sense to those around you. They'll ask why you left certain things behind, why you didn't fight for positions or chase clout, why you seem to move on so quickly from what others cling to. But you'll know the truth. You're not anchored here. You're on assignment here. And when your assignment is complete, not when the world thinks you've made it, but when heaven says it is finished, God will transition you. That could mean elevation. That could mean relocation. That could mean divine rest. Or like Enoch, it could mean you're taken into a new realm completely. This is why you must guard your focus, stay light, travel spiritually unburdened. Don't tie yourself to what God is only using as a tool. Don't marry what was meant to be momentary. Don't get lost in the field when your true inheritance is in the Father's house. God is not calling you to become numb or disconnected. He's calling you to stay mission-minded, to live fully, love deeply, serve joyfully, and obey constantly, but without becoming entangled. Every day you wake up is another step in your mission. Every encounter, another opportunity to release light. Every assignment, another chance to reflect God's glory. So don't grieve what you're not meant to keep. Don't fear what you're not called to carry. And don't cling to what you're only called to walk through. You weren't sent here to stay. You were sent here to serve. And that service, when completed in faith and obedience, will echo into eternity. Walk light, chosen one. You're not being overlooked. You're being observed by heaven. And when your mission reaches its final page, just like Enoch, God will turn it and usher you into the next chapter himself. Chapter 4. God hides those he trusts most. Enoch was not a celebrity. He wasn't a warrior king. He didn't write books, lead revivals, or perform public miracles. Yet his name is written in the lineage of the faithful, not because of what he did publicly, but because of how he walked privately. Scripture gives only a few verses about Enoch's life, and yet the weight of those verses is eternal. Why? Because God doesn't honor noise, he honors nearness, and those who walk closely with him often do so away from the spotlight. Chosen one, if you felt overlooked, unseen, or buried, understand this. God hides those he trusts the most. The world confuses visibility with value, but heaven doesn't. In fact, the more precious something is, the more it is hidden and protected. Diamonds are buried deep underground. Pearls form in the secret of the sea. Oil is drawn from pressure in the hidden places. And you, chosen one, are no different. Your hiding was not punishment, it was preservation. God has shielded you from premature platforms. He's kept you away from certain stages, connections, and recognitions, not because you're unworthy, but because the oil on your life is sacred. Exposure without preparation ruins purity. Fame without foundation crushes destiny. And platforms without process turn power into pride. Enoch's legacy didn't come from being everywhere. It came from being exactly where God wanted him to be, walking quietly, faithfully, steadily with the Creator. That's what made him unforgettable in heaven, even if he was unknown on earth. There's a divine protection in being hidden. In the secret place, God shapes your character. He refines your discernment. He deepens your wisdom. He teaches you how to walk by revelation, not validation. You learn to serve without being seen, pray without being praised, and obey without being noticed. And in that secret life with God, you become spiritually rich, deeply rooted, and eternally relevant. That's why the silence you've endured hasn't been empty. It's been full of purpose. That's why the lack of recognition wasn't rejection. It was redirection. That's why the doors that didn't open were actually covering you from exposure you weren't ready for. Chosen one, your life has been hidden in God because the assignment attached to your life is weighty. You carry blueprints the world has never seen. You carry solutions, messages, and movements that must be developed in the dark before they're released in the light. And when God hides someone, it's not because they're unqualified, it's because they're deeply called. He does this with prophets, intercessors, spiritual warriors, and those carrying generational mandates. Enoch was hidden from the noise of his time so he could stay attuned to heaven's voice, so he could walk in a rhythm that no one else understood, so he could embody obedience without applause. And when the time was right, when his walk had fulfilled its weight, God didn't wait for a crowd or a camera. He simply took him. Quietly, sovereignly, completely in alignment. That same pattern is playing out in your life. God will either reveal you to the world or remove you into something higher, but whichever way it unfolds, it will be divine. It will not be forced, it will not be rushed, and it will not be driven by ego, clout, or ambition. It will happen because your walk pleased God, because your heart stayed clean, because your motives were pure, because you didn't rush the silence or resent the hiding. You honored the secret place, and now heaven is preparing your next phase. So if you're still hidden, don't be discouraged. Stay low, stay ready, stay obedient, because the ones God hides the longest are often the ones he uses the loudest, when it truly matters. Chapter 5. The world won't understand your disappearing act. When Enoch was taken, Scripture says something both simple and profound. He was not, for God took him. There was no ceremony, no public explanation, no dramatic send-off. One moment he was walking, and the next, he was gone. The world didn't understand it. They didn't expect it. They couldn't explain it, and they certainly couldn't replicate it. Because when someone's walk with God becomes that pure, that deep, and that surrendered, the separation between earth and eternity becomes seamless. Chosen one, that same spiritual mystery now rests on your life. You may not vanish physically, but in many ways, you've already started disappearing. Disappearing from drama, disappearing from distraction, disappearing from validation traps, carnal cycles, and people-pleasing. You're not ghosting people, you're growing. You're not isolating out of pain, you're consecrating out of purpose. You're walking closer with God, and the closer you get, the harder it becomes for the world to track you. They don't understand why you no longer argue over petty things, why you've lost interest in the spotlight, why your presence is no longer predictable, why you're not posting like before, why you're not explaining yourself to everybody. But they're trying to study a blueprint that heaven hasn't made public yet. You see, spiritual elevation comes with natural separation. The deeper you go in the spirit, the more invisible you become to carnal minds. And that's okay, because your validation no longer comes from being seen by them. It comes from being known by Him. Your disappearing act is not about distance, it's about depth. When God starts pulling you into new realms, He doesn't always notify your circle. He doesn't ask for agreement or approval. He simply calls you higher. And higher doesn't always look like louder. Sometimes it looks like quieter, more private, more prayerful, more focused, more surrendered. That's where you are, chosen one. In a season where God is unrooting you from shallow soil and planting you in deeper ground. In a place where silence is strategy, where stillness is strength, where solitude is sacred. And yes, people will misunderstand. They'll call you distant, detached, different. Let them, because you're not walking with the world anymore. You're walking with God. They won't understand why the party no longer excites you, why gossip makes your spirit uncomfortable, why their invitations don't move you, why you're content with less attention, fewer circles, and more time with God. But that's what happens when your walk becomes weighty. That's what happens when heaven becomes your home, and earth becomes your assignment. This walk is not for applause. This disappearing is not for pity. It's divine repositioning. God is hiding you in plain sight. He's making you untraceable to hell and unavailable to distractions, because he's preparing to use you in a way the world cannot predict, package, or plagiarize. And when he finally reveals what he's been cultivating in you all this time, they'll remember your disappearing act. They'll say, "Where have you been?" And you'll respond, "Walking with God." So don't explain the silence. Don't justify the distance. Don't feel guilty for needing less noise and more clarity. The world may not understand your separation, but heaven smiles at your surrender. Because like Enoch, you're walking so closely with God that the world can no longer hold on to you the same way. Keep walking, and let the distance do the talking. Chapter 6. Your exit is God's strategy, not man's decision. Enoch's removal from the earth wasn't some mysterious accident or random event. It was strategic, intentional, timed by heaven with surgical precision. God didn't take him early out of fear. He took him exactly when the assignment was fulfilled. No delay, no detour, no human interference. That's the level of divine alignment Enoch walked in. And that chosen one is the same kind of alignment God is cultivating in you. Enoch didn't have to announce his exit. He didn't have to fight for legacy. He didn't have to battle to stay relevant. He simply walked with God so deeply that his transition became inevitable. That's the power of walking in rhythm with the Spirit. When your steps are ordered, your exits are too. Chosen one, hear this clearly. No enemy can cancel what God has assigned. No person can determine your departure. No system, no sabotage, no delay, and no distraction can override divine strategy. Your elevation, whether into a new level, a higher realm of influence, or even into eternity, is not controlled by man's timelines. It's scheduled by heaven's authority. Your exit won't be chaotic. It will be coordinated. You don't have to fear death when you're living in obedience. You don't have to panic over endings when you're walking in purpose. Because when God determines that your work is complete, whether in a job, a relationship, a city, or even this realm, He won't ask for permission. He'll simply shift you. Some of you are in a season right now where God is beginning to close access to certain places. You feel it, like Enoch. The world is becoming less appealing, and heaven is becoming more familiar. You don't fit in anymore, and that's not rejection. That's redirection. God is weaning you off of things that once held your attention. He's detaching you from things that were once necessary but are no longer aligned. Don't resist the shift. Don't mourn the exit. Celebrate the strategy. When your spirit is clean and your heart is aligned, exits are not endings, they're elevations. You won't leave empty, you'll leave full. You won't leave defeated, you'll leave delivered. You won't leave forgotten, you'll leave fulfilled. The enemy may try to rush your exit out of fear or delay it out of confusion, but neither plan will work. Because your life is not on man's calendar, it's on heaven's timeline. Even your transitions will preach. Whether God is about to take you from obscurity into visibility, from delay into destiny, from one realm to another, trust the process. Because your exits will always reflect the weight of your obedience. The more you align, the more precise your next move becomes. People might not understand why you left that place, why you walked away from that opportunity, why you closed that door, why you said goodbye without looking back. But you know what they don't. Your movements are no longer random, they're revelatory. God is positioning you, transitioning you, and yes, even preparing to take you in ways that go beyond explanation. But never forget, just as He did with Enoch, He will never move you without purpose. So stop worrying about who approves of your timing. Stop asking who will be upset when you leave. Stop fearing the unknown. You are not leaving because something went wrong. You are shifting because everything went right. This next exit, it's not a loss, it's a launch. It's not abandonment, it's alignment. It's not man's decision, it's heaven's design. Stay in step, because when the assignment is done, the elevation is next. Chapter 7. Walk until the transfer happens. Let's bring it all the way home. Enoch didn't run. He didn't rush. He didn't stumble his way through life, desperate to make a name for himself. He walked steadily, intentionally, humbly, and faithfully. And eventually, that consistent walk turned into a supernatural transfer. One moment, he was on earth. The next, he was with God. No death, no delay. Just a divine hand reaching down and saying, "Come up here. Chosen one, that's your calling too. Not just to exist, but to walk. To walk with focus. To walk with faith. To walk with fire in your soul and heaven in your view. You're not called to impress people. You're called to please God. And when your walk pleases Him, something begins to shift. Not always visibly at first, but spiritually, eternally, strategically. Your walk is not just a journey, it's a prophetic act. Every step you take in obedience echoes through eternity. Every moment you say yes to God and no to the world. You're building momentum in the spirit. And even when no one's clapping, even when no one's watching, even when it feels like you're being overlooked, the heavens are tracking your every step. Your time is not being wasted. Your prayers are not being ignored. Your obedience is not being forgotten. Your suffering is not in vain. Your purity is not going unnoticed. You are walking a path that leads beyond applause, beyond validation, beyond earthly recognition. It leads straight into divine fulfillment. So walk until the doors open. Walk until the mantle falls. Walk until the scrolls are unsealed. Walk until heaven says, "Now is the time." There will be days when you feel tired. Walk anyway. There will be moments when you feel spiritually dry. Walk anyway. There will be seasons where it seems like nothing's changing. Walk anyway. Because the walk isn't for results, it's for relationship. The transfer won't come because of performance. It will come because of presence. And just like Enoch, you'll know when it's time. You'll sense the shift in the spirit. The burden will lift. The atmosphere will change. And suddenly, God will call you higher. Not because the enemy won, but because your mission was completed with excellence, faithfully, quietly, consistently. Some people will be confused by your exit. They'll think you gave up. They'll say you disappeared, but they won't understand. You didn't leave. You ascended. You didn't retreat. You were released. And your legacy will speak long after your body is gone, because you didn't just leave behind memories, you left behind a blueprint. You weren't chasing influence, but influence will follow your walk. You weren't seeking promotion, but God is preparing to elevate you anyway. You weren't trying to be known, but heaven already wrote your name down. Walk until the old things fall off. Walk until the assignment becomes clear. Walk until the transition happens. Because chosen one, when your walk aligns with God's will, you don't have to force anything. You don't have to manufacture moments. You don't have to beg for blessings. Just walk. And one day, like Enoch, you'll look up, and God will say, "Well done. Come with me." You didn't walk perfectly, but you walked purely. You didn't always understand, but you stayed faithful. You didn't quit. And now, the transfer is near. So keep walking. Through the storms, through the silence, through the separation. Because when chosen ones finish their mission, they don't fade out. They're taken up. They're transitioned. They're transformed. This isn't just a walk. It's a countdown to glory.